from her. And you all know Cathy's memory. She remembers the moment, believe it or not. She didn't like me very much because we just put a house on a beautiful empty lot. You know, she likes our open spaces. But it didn't take long for us to become playmates and best of friends. Not only that, we were fellow Libras, lover of our opals, because we were October birthdays, just 12 days apart. And as the youngest in our class, just 4 years old when we started kindergarten still, we were always kind of late bloomers. And when I remember Cathy, I think that's the fun part, is we played and we played. We grew up in a magical place, in a magical time. We had a neighborhood that was just remarkable. We lived on Calm Drive. And as you went up around Hall and Major and Ison, literally there were almost 100 children on that one block. And it was a wonderful time. I unfortunately was out of town last week when Cathy became ill and passed away. And I didn't get back till Saturday. Went down and saw Jean on Sunday, and she asked me to do this. And I was so honored. But I also knew that I knew Cathy very well in my way, but I didn't know all of her life the way that you many know her. And so you were kind enough to take my phone calls and let me invade your privacy and busy time and your time of grieving to hear your stories. And what I learned as I did that is Cathy at 5 and 15 and 50 and 59, she's the same person. And she's had this wonderful life with different components. And there were certain themes that I'd like to just share with you. And if you don't hear her story specifically, those of you I visited with, they're there, because they're in that meeting. I think first, when I think of Cathy, is her love of storytelling, first of all. She loved history, she loved the past, she loved the background. And what better fitting for her than to be in Daddy Doc's house. I can't tell you how happy we were when she moved into Daddy Doc's house, because we knew she would give it the love and care that it deserved. And she filled it with the past. She's active with the Morrow, I always say Morrow Heights, Morrow Drive historical district, and shared information with them. And she also, as one teacher put it, had the coolest stuff in her class, like little coffee cans and taxidermy and antiques, and not just because they were fun and raw, but because she valued the past, and she wanted to impart that on her students, that the past was important, and she did it so well. And I think that's one of the reasons she was such a big recycler. You know, partly the environment, but she also, as one of her co-workers said, everything mattered to her. Everything had a purpose and a value. So they understood that Cathy had her legs up in the air in the dumpster, digging stuff out, and going, why did they throw this away? And hauling it back into the school, and she put it into good purpose. She just saw that in her. And just like she had salvaged things, it was the other big part of her life. She salvaged dogs. Big dogs, floppy dogs, wild dogs. She got the dogs and brought them home. And as David said, they owned the front seat of her car and a lot more. One of her co-workers, I thought, told a great story of Cathy and her dogs. Because after school hours, you know, the dogs, unlike when we were growing up, dogs actually got to go into school. They really aren't supposed to be in there during school hours. But Cathy was here all times, day, nights, weekends, working. And she'd bring the dogs in with her. And this was a newer teacher, had been here a long time, and was in the summer, getting ready for the next school year. It was kind of bending down, getting through some files. All of a sudden she felt this wet, hot on her neck. And she screamed, and around the corner comes Cathy, just laughing that wonderful laugh that Cathy has, because her dog was loose in the school, and that's what she did. Just as Father Greg received one of those wonderful plaques, I know that others have. Kelly told me about one that has a little bit different connotation, but maybe not so different when you're going through hell. Keep on going that she has on her desk for Cathy. But the one she made for me said, my goal in life is to be the kind of person my dog thinks I am. And I am far from that, but I must say, Cathy truly lived that. And that was one of the wonderful things about her. As Father Greg also mentioned, she liked the Beatles, which is no secret, but this was not something new. We grew up loving the Beatles. Wendy and I and Cathy would play wooden tennis rackets for hours on end, singing. Cathy, of course, got to be Paul, the lefty, and he was the cutest. And when it was John, and I always got stuck in Ringo or George, and that was okay. And I can remember going to Hard Day's Night, sitting in the big theater downtown and seen that for the first time, and I think we went back 4 or 5 times as often as we could. But one of the beautiful tributes I thought was something on Facebook from one of her students that said that the first time he was introduced to the Beatles was as he picked up crayons and colored pencils, and Cathy taught him an influence of music and art that really changed his life. And I think that was more than just the fun of the Beatles that she passed it on. It wasn't just the Beatles though. She liked all kinds of music. Rick took her to her first rock and roll concert, and he said he felt responsible for her, to have fun, but to take good care of her. But as he put it, he scarred her for life. And some of us will have to agree, because that concert was Leon Russell. And she listened to Leon Russell from there on out. And this January, I happened to be at a festival, and Leon Russell was playing, and the first person I thought it was Cathy. Got a picture and sent it off to her. David remembers his first music kind of fun experience with Cathy when he was a junior in high school. Went to Springfield where she was in college. He went to a bar for the first time. And came home as the big man on campus because he'd been down in Springfield dancing with the college girls to do the shuffle. And had a great time with her. Music filled her art class in high school, and that's what she passed on to her students. She loved the music in her art class, and she brought that forward. And so teachers say walk down the hall and KCMQ was playing, but she was careful to pick just the right CDs and carefully craft music for her students specifically to carry that on. When she wasn't indoors listening to music, she was outside, tromping around through the woods, loving the outdoors. There was a lot of open around us when we were too little before we could expand up to the woods. We would make mud pies. And Cathy already was creative. I know it was Wendy's my idea, because we're not creative. We had built these mud pie with this wonderful Jessity clay, that had already made. It makes great forts. And then she'd get Rick and David's paint from their model cars, and we painted in green and brown and camouflage, and then turned around and sold them to our brothers and all the boys in the neighborhood to play with their army soldiers outside. So even at like 6 or 7, she was creating out of mud. Cathy and I also shared the love of the woods, but also, unfortunately, predisposition to get poison ivy if we just looked at it. So you can always tell that we had a good time because we were covered with stuff. She now loves going down to the Missouri River and letting the dogs swim for the past several years. And that was especially important to me because where she went was the landing or the access point that's named after my father. And she was so kind to always give me updates of, what the plannings were, what was going on around the scene there. When it was too hot to be outside, we played indoors and would have marathon games of Tripoli and Monopoly and poker and make-believe bonanza. Cathy again got her way somehow. She got to be cute little Joe, but he got to be Adam. I got to be Boss or Boss. But we loved playing bonanza, and poor Rick and David would want to watch combat, which was like an army show on Sunday nights, but they were overruled and bonanza on the way. And I'm grateful because then we had scenes to play the next morning. Cathy and her brothers also played poker with their dad and really enjoyed that. And this is one story that was, I thought, such a beautiful story. That after Dr. Starks had passed and they had divvied up the belongings that were sentimental, there's other stuff that you need to do things with. And so they sat down and started playing poker. And they played hand of poker, whoever won that hand got that object, and on they went. And I thought, how much fun and how beautiful and what a wonderful tribute to their dad. Family was very important to her. Cathy was a daddy's girl. She adored her father so much and was lucky enough to have a second dad in Ben, and she loved him equally well. The one thing besides that immediate family that I've come to know was this beautiful family here at St. Peter's. She had a core group. There's kind of a four amigos, I guess I'll call them, and Cathy, and Donna, and Connie, and, and Rose here, who are like second family to their family, who are other aunts and other cousins, as they were all raised here in the church. And I have to tell you, you cannot imagine the work that all these teachers have done this last week. I know Father Greg mentioned it, but they've been cooking and putting together displays and videos and fundraising and doing so much support, and it gives me comfort to know that she's had such a wonderful family here. Her core family, I can't imagine Sundays for her mom without her, because they were always together. Rick talked about, which is so true, siblings, and you don't fully appreciate them until you get older and start to learn them as friends. And you remember the first time that kind of started to happen when they were, I think he said in '73, you got to go on their first airplane ride into the ocean, and Ben and Jean took them out to Newport Beach. And Cathy and Rick sat on the beach as the waves were coming in and first started to talk as true friends and adults, and that grows over the years. David remembers her wonderful sense of humor and how his mom, she could get mad. I don't think she's fun, but boy, if you crossed her, she could get you. We were scared of her. And she'd say, David, Lane, Sticker, Starks. And Cathy loved that. And so years later, she'd still address his birthday cards. David, Lane, Sticker, Starks. But one time she forgot to put the postage on. So poor David's down at the post office going, yes, I really am David, Lane, Sticker, Starks. Her nieces and nephews also got the joy from her. You know, she would send to her niece, who was a school teacher, suddenly little packages of helpful things for teaching. Aaron, her nephew, with his first record that he made as a piano solo. She was so positive, and she took it to school and played it for her students, and they drew what they felt or heard in music, and then kind enough to take the time to bring that back and share it with Rick and Aaron. And her daughters, her joy, her love, her life. Around the corner here, to see Carrie. You were everything to her, and you meant so much. She was so proud of you, loved to have fun with you, never hesitated to sit down and have a cold natty light and enjoy things with you. Most of all, I think brings the last is her big heart, her thoughtfulness. I gathered all these things and I put them on Post-it notes to try to gather my thoughts, and I had them stuck all over the wall last night. And the Post-it notes of the generosity of Cathy just went on and on and on. Signing up for every committee, doing the grunt work that nobody wanted to do, whether it was here at school or high school reunions or all those kinds of things. Hours and hours being sure art like work was perfectly hung for the students. And she finally had her own art show this last winter, and said afterwards to some of her coworkers, I felt kind of bad taking money from people last night for my art. It's like, I'm happy. Your art is beautiful. And she took the time to write a beautiful handwritten note to the lady who organized it, and bought her a gift certificate saying thank you. Certainly not necessary. There's one last story I want to share that I think captures Cathy's generosity so well. A friend of ours who couldn't be here today, Jane, grew up in our neighborhood, and Jane's parents had passed. Her father had just died, and she lived out on the East Coast, and it takes months sometime to get the house settled and ready to sell. And so Cathy and the girls would go over and mow the grass all summer to take care of the house, and Jane would get back about once a month, and she'd be, can I pay you? And Cathy's like, no, friend and neighbor, that's what you do. So finally the house was sold, the estate was settled, and Jane had talked her into going to Eris's sometimes, but that was about it. So she finally at the last visit said, please, let me just write a check for $50. Do something for the girls or something. So Cathy said finally, okay, she goes, I know just what I'm going to do with it. And so about 3 weeks later, Jane's coming home from work in DC and arrives, and there's an overnight package on the front porch. And it's packed in dry ice, a half-baked Eris's pizza, Jane's favorite kind. And that's what she did with her $50. Because that's Cathy's loving heart. Cathy's life was not always easy. She had heartbreak even as a young child. But she chose not to be bitter or defiant or withdrawn. She chose to love life, live life, have a life full of faith, and care very, very much. And what a wonderful role model that is. Because we all have strife in our life, and you make a choice of how you're going to live it. And so I'm going to end this the way we began, in the way that Cathy truly lived her life, and remembering that all you need is love, love,